Hi, this is Stan Bush.
Hi, this is Stephanie Calvert.
This is John Payne.
This is Jack Hughes.
Hey everybody, this is Prescott Niles.
Hi, I'm Carrie Stevens.
Hello, I'm Kofi Baker.
And you're listening to Play That Rock and Roll.
Have you heard of Metallica? I said, I've heard of them, but I think they're from LA. He said, yeah, they are, but they're thinking of moving up here. And they gave me a tape and a cassette, and I looked at it, and it said "turn bass down on amp," and it was all in Lars's writing. So I put it in my pocket and forgot about it. And anyway, a couple of days later, because I'd actually gone out there to do Motley Crue, who were playing at the Concord Pavilion on Halloween. With Y&T when the Tiger album came out. So you had Y&T topping, Motley Crue under them, who were just beginning to break, and Randy Hansen, who was a bit like sort of Hendrixy, black guitarist, really good, but he was sort of local Bay Area guitarist. And so, I went and did the Motley Crue thing, and that was fine, and they were mad, and it was okay. And then I suddenly get a call from this Ron Quintana. I said, "Oh, Metallica are one. Lars wants to know if you want to go and see him." I said, "Where are they playing?" He said, "Oh, we're playing this place called the Old Waldorf, which is in downtown San Francisco. And you know where the Pyramid Building is in downtown there's a club that was right in the financial district. I don't know if it's still there."
Okay.
And on the poster it said Lars Rocket were headlining, and it said "from Los Angeles, Metallica." And it was, and of course when I get there, Lars is waiting to talk to me, because Sylvie Simmons, who's another Kerrang writer who was living in LA, had obviously told him about me, and he had his Venom. They had Venom and Saxon T-shirts on, and back then they had black spandex trousers and bullet belts. And in one corner was Dave Mustaine, who just wouldn't talk to anyone because he was still in the band then. And then the bass player was Ron McGovney, who's the original one. I think he's an estate. He's an estate agent. But in the audience, so I started chatting to, was Cliff Burton, who was still in a band called Trauma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, they came on and played like, I'd never seen anyone play that fast, and the beer was going everywhere. And someone said, "How do you describe their music?" I said, "Well, I suppose it's a bit like Ted Nugent on speed," which it sort of was.
Yeah.
But what I loved about them was this originality. They felt very new, very fresh, and because they were all into the European bands like Except, Saxon, Scorpion, all the German bands as well. And Lars is Danish, obviously, so he spent a lot of time in London and Europe. So when he went over there, he took his knowledge of all that European metal and sort of morphed it into Metallica. And that's what, and then of course, the minute they got to San Francisco, they could say, well, there's a different scene up here. It's not, because when they were in LA, there's all the glam bands were coming through, and nobody wanted to see Metallica.
Right.
But in San Francisco, it was different. You had Exodus and bands like that, and Testament. They were all coming through, so there was a big thrash scene up there. So that's why they relocated up there. Anyway, so I did this interview in Kerrang, which had MUYA, which was Metal Up Your Ass, which was one of their T-shirts. And then that sort of helped get them going. And then I sort of hooked them up with Music for Nations, which is a big London label. They put their album out. And then there's a famous story where Peter Mensch, who at the time was managing AC/DC and Def Leppard, phoned me up and said, "What about this band Metallica you keep on about?" I said, "Do you think they're going to be big?" I said, "I reckon in 10 years' time," this is 82, right? I said, "they'll probably be one of the biggest bands in the planet." And of course, The Black Album comes out. And he said, "So how do I get hold of him?" I said, "Well, that's the difficult part, because you can't." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, they got this rehearsal studio over on the other side of the bay in Oakland, near Berkeley, but you can't get through to them because they never pick up the phone because they're rehearsing all the time." He said, "Well, there must be a way." I said, "Well, I know I have a number for Kirk Hammett's mother. I can phone her up." So I did. And then she said, "Well, they won't call." I said, I said, "This is urgent. This is a manager who's fucking big time." She said, "Okay, well, I'll get Kirk's brother to go round on his skateboard, round to the studios and get them to phone you." So that night I get when you get those weird reverse charge calls. Yeah. They said, this American voice said, "Yeah, we got a reverse charge call from a cool box in California. Would you take the charge?" I said, "Only if I can mail it back from them later." Anyway, I said, so put them through. And I said, look, Peter Mensch wants to manage you. They went, oh, fucking hell. I said, well, give me the number of the call box you're in, and then I'll phone him and he'll phone you back. So anyway, this is where it gets interesting. So I give Peter Mensch the number. He then tries to phone them, and it's engaged. So I hang up. He hangs up, phones me back, says, black and engaged. You give me the right number. I repeated it back to him. I said, look, and then 2 seconds later, Lars phones me back and says, oh, I'm sorry, someone needed to use the phone. I said, well, get James Hetfield to stand in front of the box so no one can get in. This time, Mensch got through, and the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good story. And then the next time they came over was just when they were doing the Ride of the Lightning album.
Okay.
And they were on Music for Nations by then. And they were in Shepherd's Bush, which is a part of London's rehearsal studio. And they said, oh, they want to play some new stuff. And this is the first time I saw Cliff Burton. And
Okay.
they played me the whole of Ride the Lightning virtually. So I was hearing For Whom the Bell Tolls, all those songs for the first time. I said, this is fucking brilliant. And then they said, well, we're playing the Aardschok Festival, which was February '84, which is in Holland. And they were supporting Venom on the 7 Dates of Hell tour. And I was just standing on the side of the stage, and they just pushed me on. So they always have that Clint Eastwood Morricone intro. Well, when that finished, James Hetfield just pushed me on and said, right, you've got to introduce us. So I said, and I've got it written down here. In fact, you can see it on YouTube. You can hear it, not see it.
Oh, okay.
So if you go Metallica Aardschok Festival, and because someone's actually put a whole recording of the whole show,
sure.
You hear me say, headbangers, are you ready? The heaviest band in the world, all the way from San Francisco, Metallica. Are you ready? The heaviest band in the world, all the way from San Francisco, California, Metallica.
How was the crowd reaction?
They were just ready to see Metallica, but
yeah,
I think it was just a funny thing they did, just push me out there. So it's just good fun.
Oh,
and then
great.
it was good to keep in with them. And then after the Master of Puppets album, I started getting into German thrash and stuff like Creator, Halloween, this band who I love, sort of like they're sort of a maideny, but they're slightly more, I don't know, poppy, and Celtic Frost, who are avant-garde, and those sort of bands. So, and Slayer, suddenly when that classic album came out in '86, Rain in Blood, I think it's still one of the best produced thrash albums of all time.
Sure, yeah, and that's before they were part of the big four, right? Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth,
yeah.
Slayer. So you mentioned Dave Mustaine. So there's been so much said about Metallica and Dave over the years. What are your memories of seeing Dave with them? Did you pick up on like any bad energy, or is all that stuff overblown?
It's funny you should say that, because I only saw him once with them. I've obviously seen him with Megadeth.
Of course.
When they were on stage that night, and they were supporting, but they were still going flat out. It looked like they looked quite similar, him and Hetfield, when you look at them. Right. So it looked like, to me, it looked like two brothers that didn't really get on. And it was like one was getting in front of the other, and because they could both play that really good down picking, as I call it, rhythm, it just felt, it was brilliant to look at. And I still thought it was a great. And Kirk Hammett's obviously come along and done his thing, but when you saw Hetfield and Mustaine together, they both had that long blonde hair. They both had a sort of similar look, right. And it just felt. I wonder how long this is going to last, without actually knowing anything back then.
Oh, for sure, yeah. They're not knowing that it would become one of the biggest.
But then again, having said that, when I met them that night, obviously Kirk was obviously not in the band. The only ones I really talked to were Hetfield and Mustaine.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Hetfield and Ulrich. Ulrich did most of the talking.
Okay.
Mustaine was off in a corner. He didn't really want to talk to anyone. And then, of course, I was talking to the future bass player in another corner of the pub, of the bar, which was Cliff. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Just checking them out." So I don't know. This is the bit I don't know. If Cliff had already got wind of the fact they wanted him.
Oh,